Are there constructive things that you can do to help restore a culture of life? Find out next on this edition of Life Matters. Brian Johnston is the Western Director of the National Right to Life Committee. He has served in many capacities while advocating for innocent lives, as California Commissioner on Aging, as Chairman of the California Pro-Life Council, on the board of the National Legal Center for the Medically Dependent and Disabled. And now here's our host, Brian Johnston.
Welcome back to Life Matters. We're your program on the right to life, and what it really is. You know, it's a very specific statement. It's in our founding documents. It's an assertion of political philosophy and legal premise. It's a right. It's a right to be alive that is endowed by your Creator. It's not given by the government. It's given by your Creator. But your government has a very specific duty, and that is to protect your right to be alive. All your other rights come from that. This is the time of year when we talk about a very particular life. We talk about a particular child, a vulnerable child, the Christ child. You know the songs, hopefully you've been singing some. But this is a significant time where we all stop and consider more deeply the fact that we are all made in the image of God. And the fact that there are particular children that die in an abortion. And it's a sad thing. We're going to hear from a former abortionist, a gentleman I know, Dr. Anthony Levantino, and he has spoken at various California pro-life events. I want to prepare you. He is a former abortionist, and he talks about his experiences and the opening of his eyes, and you're going to hear from him. We're going to talk, too, about some of the things you can do. I always get asked at this time of year, at the end of the year, how can you help? And, of course, there's many ways to help. A lot of times people are looking for tax deductions, and we're going to tell you how to do that. So we're going to explain those details in just a little bit. But as you hear from Dr. Levantino, again, if there's children listening, it gets a little specific. And so I want to prepare you for that. It's a hard thing to hear at this time. But if we don't remember that each and every abortion kills a unique human being, then you don't understand what this debate's about. And you can hear in this man as he speaks the challenges that he faced. And again, he is still recovering from those wounds. So with that being said, I'd like you to hear from Dr. Anthony Levantino, and we'll take a break in between and then come back again.
The first time that I had any doubts about what I was doing, because I knew very well that part of the reason why it's difficult to find children to adopt were that doctors like me were killing them in abortions. And that was the first time any doubt got introduced in my mind about abortions. We were literally, by the grace of God, able to adopt a little girl that we named Heather in 1978. And, you know, after all the years of my wife trying to get pregnant, we had a daughter finally of our own that we had adopted. And my wife got pregnant the very next month, and we ended up with a son just 10 months later. Now, anybody who knew, I mean, Sean and Heather were very, very close to each other, figuratively and literally. And anyone who didn't know that Heather had been adopted would look at the two of them and say, 10 months apart? Man, you didn't give your wife much of a break. But we had a millionaire's family. We had a son and a daughter, and I was just perfectly happy. And even though I had those first initial qualms about doing abortions, totally selfish ones because I was trying to adopt a baby, well, now I had my family and I could go back to business as usual. I graduated from my residency, and ultimately, after a year in Florida, went back to New York and practiced in Troy, New York, near Albany, where I trained with a physician that I had trained with. And we were both practiced abortionists. Now, we weren't running an abortion clinic. This was just an ordinary OB/GYN office like just about every woman in this room has been to. But abortion was part of our practice. And that was in 1981 that I joined him. And at the time, as I said, saline abortions were still king of second trimester abortions, and we're talking about 10% of abortions. That's a lot of abortions. And those of us in the abortion industry were really looking for a better method of second trimester abortion, and that's when suction D&E abortion was developed. And my partner and I, no one else in town was doing them, and my partner and I saw an opportunity. So we trained ourselves to do second trimester D&E abortions. I just brought them along. I'm not going to give you a description, but basically in so many words, you take an instrument like this called a Sofer clamp, and basically the surgery is that you literally tear a child to pieces. There's no, the suction is only for the fluid. The rest of it is literally dismembering that child piece by piece with an abortion instrument just like this one. Absolutely gut-wrenching procedure. Much better for the patients because they're asleep, and when they wake up, it's all over. But that's what I did for the next several years. And because we were willing to do this procedure, we were getting referrals from other practices. As I said, abortion was only a small part of my practice. We were not running an abortion clinic. But over the next 4 years, I performed 1,200 abortions. Over 100 were the second trimester abortions that I've been talking about. Everything changed very quickly on June 23rd, 1984. June 23rd, 1984 was a Saturday. It was a beautiful day in Albany where we lived. I was on call, but it wasn't too busy. I made rounds, and I basically got to spend the rest of the day with my family. We took the kids to an amusement park that day. We had dinner together, and the kids were playing in the backyard that evening when we had friends coming over for cake and coffee. Our friends came over. We were talking with them, and at 7:25 that night, we heard the screech of brakes out in front of our house. Kids had gone out on the road, and Heather had been hit by a car. She was a mess. And we did everything we possibly could, but she ultimately died literally in our arms on the way to the hospital that evening. Now, if you have children, you may think you have some idea of what that might feel like. If you haven't been through that experience yourself, I promise you, you have no idea what it feels like. I hope you never find out. I have seen hell. It's not a good place. But what do you do after a disaster? You take some time off, and then you go back to your life. And I don't know how long after it was that I got back that I had to do my first, but sooner or later, eventually within a couple of weeks, my next D&E abortion was scheduled. And I showed up at OR number 9 at Albany Medical Center just like I had 100 times before. I wasn't thinking of this as anything special. Obviously, I had other things on my mind. This was routine to me. And I started that abortion, and I took that Sofer clamp, and I literally ripped out an arm or a leg, and I just stared at it in the clamp, and I got sick. But you know something? When you start an abortion, you can't stop. If you don't get all the pieces, and you literally stack them up on the side of the table when you're doing one of those second trimester abortions. If you don't get all the pieces, your patient's going to come back infected, bleeding, or dead. So I soldiered on and I finished that abortion. And I know it sounds strange to people, but it was absolutely true. For the first time in my life, after all those years, all those abortions, I really looked at that pile of goo on the side of the table that used to be somebody's son or daughter. And that's all I could see. I couldn't see what a great doctor I was being. I didn't see how I'd helped this woman in her crisis. I didn't see the $600 cash I just made in 15 minutes. All I could see was somebody's son or daughter. And after losing my daughter, this was looking very, very different to me. Eventually, soon thereafter, I stopped doing second trimester abortions. It was just too painful. I went to my partners and said, look, I just can't do this anymore. And they understood for a while. And old habits die hard. I was still doing the first trimester abortions, the little ones we did in the office for the next few months after that. And I know, again, it sounds, everybody puts doctors on a pedestal and we're all supposed to be so smart, but we're no different than anybody else. I made a change of heart that I couldn't take back. Once you figure out not here, but here, that killing a baby this big, and that's how big a 20-week baby is, for money is wrong, then it dawns on you after a little while that it doesn't matter if the baby is this big or this big or this big or maybe even this big, it's all the same. I'm happy to say that I have not done an abortion since February of 1985. There isn't a chance in hell I would ever do another one. I always tell people, not doing abortions is one thing. And if you really listen to what I've just told you, if you really look between the lines, you'll realize the only reason I stopped doing abortions is because I hurt. It was strictly emotional, and it was strictly selfish. Get involved in the pro-life movement? Not a chance. Everybody in the abortion industry knows that everybody involved in the pro-life industry is a kook. I mean, I know this because CNN tells me so, and they would never lie to me. It was maybe 7 months or 8 months after I stopped doing abortions, my wife came home and said that we'd been invited to a pro-life potluck dinner, and I laughed. I said, why would I want to go to some pro-life potluck dinner with a bunch of kooks? And as it happened, of course, now I understand that coincidence, there is no such thing as coincidence. As it happened, I had an out. We had another commitment that night. But the pro-life potluck dinner was literally on the road to where we were going that evening. We had to pass it to go where we were going. And I looked at her and I said, what the heck, just for giggles, let's stop at the pro-life potluck dinner. And that night, the ex-abortionist and his wife walked into this pro-life potluck dinner, and I swear to God, it's absolutely true. It looked like one of those stupid, overdone scenes in the movies where maybe seeing young people walk into a bar where they obviously don't fit in, the whole place goes dead quiet. I'm telling you, I walked in there, everybody looked up, and the place went dead quiet. They had, I did not take out an ad. I just stopped doing abortions. So a lot of them didn't know I wasn't doing abortions anymore. And, of course, I had no idea these people knew who I was, but they did. And a gentleman walked up to me by the name of Dennis Walterding, who is still a dear friend, and started talking. We ended up spending an hour and a half at the pro-life potluck dinner. And guess what? Big surprise. These people weren't kooks. They understood the law. They understood the medicine. They understood the social implications. And they were working hard, voluntarily and sacrificially working against abortion to stop one of the worst human rights abuses of our time. This was very impressive, and to us, and that's how we got involved in Citizens Concerned for Human Life, a pro-life group in Albany, New York.
Life Matters continues after this.
Do you have a car you aren't using anymore? You can donate your car or boat, mobile home, trailer, or motorcycle, even property, to the California Pro-Life Council and get the highest amount possible in a tax deduction. Our donation program doesn't just turn around and dump the car. Our volunteer team of experts gets the car in its best reasonable shape and then sells it at auction to the highest bidder. You get the best tax deduction, and California Pro-Life gets the highest amount that it can to assist us in reaching Californians for life.
It's your tax-deductible year-end donations that keep us on the air throughout the year. We broadcast throughout California, and our podcasts are listened to over and over, equipping pro-life individuals in this state for the very difficult battle of ideas. It's your help that allows us to do that. Please consider donating now at CaliforniaProLife.org. CaliforniaProLife.org. Thank you, and God bless you.
And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
Well, that was Dr. Anthony Levantino. And as you heard, he is involved in the Right to Life movement in New York State. And it's a rather tragic way he got involved. But he realized that pro-life individuals are not kooks like CNN and the major media present. They're individuals that think a little bit more deeply about the significance and meaning of life. And you, as a listener, as a pro-life individual, you're one of those folks, and you want to do things that are productive and actually move forward the cause of life. And that's what we're here for at Life Matters, to equip others with understanding and to give you the equipment to help others. And I mean by equipment, the knowledge and the ability to communicate why these lives should be protected under the law. So again, at this time of year, I get asked, and so the first thing you can do if you want to support us financially, I'll give you a list of financial things. I don't want you to forget, however, what Dr. Levantino said. You can be involved personally, and there's so much work to do locally. So go to CaliforniaProLife.org, see about being involved in your local chapter of California Pro-Life. We're the state affiliate of National Right to Life. the 50 unique organizations in each of the 50 states that are dedicated to change their state for life and to restore the right to life to the United States of America. And we're going to do it. It's hard at times. This has been an extraordinary year. You and I know that. We've never seen the likes of this year, but there's more ahead, and we want to be ready for that. So let me give you some of the ways for those folks who want to give at year end. Obviously, the simple one is to just send a check to P.O. Box 935. That's California Pro-Life Council. If you want it tax deductible, make it to our educational foundation, or just put Ed Fund, California Pro-Life Council, P.O. Box 935, Sacramento, California, 95812. That's P.O. Box 935, Sacramento, California, 95812. We're in a digital age now, and if you want to go online to californiaprolife.org, that's all spelled out, no hyphens. That's californiaprolife.org. And there you can actually make a monthly, or if you'd like, a one-time pledge. We kind of like monthly because then we don't have to worry month to month if we're going to make it, if we're going to be able to afford the costs we have. And dealing with a state of 40 million people, there are a lot of costs. We do have volunteers throughout the state, but getting resources and helping make the message of life available to others, that takes a lot of effort. And your monthly pledge helps a lot. It's tax deductible. Go online to californiaprolife.org, all spelled out, no hyphens. californiaprolife.org. At the homepage, go to the bottom, and it says you can donate there. Click on that, or you can just click on the pledge portion. There's other ways to give as well. You've heard already that we have a car donation program. That's also at the bottom of the page at californiaprolife.org. So maybe your car isn't really doing what it needs to do, or maybe you were going to trade it in. This happened to me. I was going to trade in my vehicle. I thought it was a pretty good vehicle, but they would give me next to nothing in trade-in when I donated it through our car program. By the way, we use cars. It's the finest car donation program in the nation, and they take care of the car. They buff it up before they sell it at auction, and then with that higher value, you get the higher tax deduction. And so that's a very, very important thing. So go to californiaprolife.org if you want to donate your car. And then also boats and watercraft, various types of watercraft, mobile homes, trailers, ATVs. You can donate basically anything. Snowmobiles, if you have any of those types of things, you could just go to donate your car, and at that page for California Pro-Life, and you click on it, you can say what it is you want to donate if it is a boat. By the way, we can also, and people have asked about this, you can donate property to California Pro-Life Council. Do send an email and let us know and your contact information, and we'll get back to you on how to do that and get credit for donating that. You can donate stocks. That's right. You can donate stocks directly to California Pro-Life. And there is a stock fund that we would direct you to put it into our stock account that we keep fiduciary watch over. We also have various other things you can do. This is happening to many people. They're taking compulsory distribution of your 401k. And what that means is they're making you take the money out of your retirement savings at a certain age, and then they're going to tax you on it. But if you donate it to an educational outreach like California Pro-Life Ed Fund, then it's a tax deduction for you. And many people are finding that they're having to take money out of their savings account. They don't want to get taxed on it. So we can help you direct that to the California Pro-Life Ed Fund to educate people. Just as you've heard Dr. Levantino give his story, you'll also hear other stories, and other people will have their eyes opened, and using your compulsory 401k distribution to get a tax deduction instead of paying taxes. Well, that's a real blessing. So do send us an email, info@California Pro-Life, or call our 800 number, 800-924-2490. And we can tell you how to do that. So there's lots of ways at the end of the year that you can give to California Pro-Life to help us in this work. We do need it. We try not to ask too often, but it is something we need, and we do want you to get a tax deduction. If you're really close when you send it in, notate that you would like this applied to tax year 2020. And even if it comes in the mail after January 1st, we'll make sure that it is applied to tax year 2020. Again, the simplest way, and many people still prefer this, that's P.O. Box 935, Sacramento, California, 95812. It's California Pro-Life Council, P.O. Box 935, Sacramento, California, 95812.
Life Matters continues after this.
Christmas is the time of year when we honor Christ and the fact that God Himself has decided to become one of us. We remember, too, that we, each and every one of us, is actually made in God's image. Each child is an incredible gift of life. If you'd like to help in the battle for life here in California and remember them at this time of year, please go to CaliforniaProlife.org. That's California Pro-Life, all spelled out, no hyphens, CaliforniaProlife.org, and help us as we stand for the cause of life and for each and every vulnerable child.
And now back to more Life Matters with Brian Johnston.
Hi, welcome back to Life Matters. We're talking about self-evident truths. Our founders said we hold these truths to be self-evident, that every one of us are created. And we're created with inalienable rights, not given by the government, given by God. So our founders proclaimed that. It's pretty bold. However, in 73, as you know, that was changed. And in 73, basically, that self-evident truth was ignored. And simply put, that truth is that every child is a human being in the womb. Before 73, the laws reflected that. In 1973, they were struck down. We're going to overturn Roe. And this is one of the reasons. Mother Teresa put it well. She said, "It's a tragedy to think that a child must die so that you may live as you wish." Yet there's still blind rage in the face of these obvious facts. The desperate actions of Herod, who tried to rule his own world, ended in sorrow for many. Jesus still survived the blade. And for Herod, those actions of killing, they gave him nothing. His own death, if you read the scriptures, was very, very tragic. He got the sad reward of simply living as he wished. Mother Teresa again put it well. It's a tragedy to think that a baby must die so that you may live as you wish. And that's what we're facing in the Roe v. Wade mentality. Up until 1973, all the states had protected babies. But with Roe v. Wade, it was exactly flipped. All the states were prohibited then from protecting babies. And though it is indeed a spiritual battle, it's a battle in the physical world right now. It's a battle for the laws of those states. Will they protect babies? We're here for a reason. You and I. We're here for a reason in this battle. Now, here's the problem. There are states, like California, that continue to glorify the idea that you can just live as you wish. And if a human life somehow gets in the way or it discomforts you, you can simply have that human life removed from your life, killed. You're in a battle. We're in a battle for innocent lives. But the light is still shining in the darkness. We celebrate Christmas because we have light. We have understanding. There is hope on the way. That's because it's a self-evident truth that we're talking about. That child's life is revealed in nature. It's revealed to science. Science proclaims that they can measure the heartbeat of a child as early as 16 days after conception. That's before mom even knows she's pregnant. That's an objective fact. Every cell in that baby's body has a unique DNA. Half of those children are male. This isn't part of the woman's body. This child, in every measurable way, is a unique human being, utterly dependent on the protection and goodwill of others. These are facts There were facts before 1973, and the law reflected that. At California Pro-Life, we are here to stand. We're going to continue to stand for these self-evident truths. Well, even though this is Christmas time and we're approaching the end of the year, your donation now is of great significance. Not so much for right now, but for the fact that that's what helps us through the rest of the year. That's right. It's our year-end donations that really helps us get through the rest of the year. One of the things that you should know is we sponsor not only this radio program statewide, but our podcast serves folks throughout California and the nation. Podcasts are important because people can go back and listen to the facts. Our job is to get the facts out, the facts of life. And through our education program, we have the resources we want to make sure that young mother knows she is a mother. Very few organizations do what we do. The public schools certainly don't. We want to make sure that the facts of life in the womb are known and that child should be protected under the law. There's other things we do too. Life Fest Film Festival. The most important community in our state is, of course, the communications community in Hollywood. Important why? Because they impact the whole world. Life Fest has introduced many great pro-life films that you've seen. They started at Life Fest. We do that in May, but your donations now help ensure that it continues. We also have chapters in many counties. Make sure that you're involved in a local chapter. If not, you can start one. Our individuals, we have speakers bureaus, fair booths at county fairs, and people that are involved as pro-lifers in the civic community, not just locally, but all the way up to the state capitol. Your investment now in life can be tax deductible. Go to californiaprolife.org. That's all spelled out, no hyphens, californiaprolife.org, or call 800-924-2490. That's 800-924-2490. Outside of California, if you're listening on podcast, go to nrlc.org. You can help the National Right to Life Committee. You know the battle is a national battle. And our national team. Go to nrlc.org and find out who your state affiliate is. Every life is valuable, and we must speak up for those that can't speak for themselves.
Learn more about everything in today's show online at lifematters.life, where you'll find all the resources you need to protect life. Life Matters is a production of the California Pro-Life Council, the state affiliate of National Right to Life. Wherever you are in the nation, you can find out more at National Right to Life. You can find vital pro-life information and also find the access to your state and local Right to Life affiliate. Get informed and get involved.